I guess I'm kind of keen to hear about your acting journey. Now, I guess, tell me a little bit about where you've come from and where you are kind of now in your journey.
It's I think it's a kind of interesting journey because I never really had anything to do with acting until a couple of years ago. I was working as a graphic designer.
Yep.
It's a completely different industry. You know, I was sitting at a desk 9 to 5 all day working on images and retouching, and I was working in the fashion industry because originally when I was at school I wanted to be a fashion designer. So I did like textiles and design at school, and then I was like intent that I was going to do I did fashion design at UTS.
Okay.
So I was really going down the path, and then I didn't end up so much in fashion design, but graphic textile design. And then so I was working in that for maybe like 6 years or something, and I ended up in this job where there was so much pressure on me, and I was so stressed, and I was so depressed and like unhappy every single day.
Yeah.
And I just felt like this gut feeling inside of me, like I'm not supposed to do this, but I didn't really know what I was meant to do. And this is the thing that I find, like, if you believe in like the universe, like giving you pointers, like signs, like this was like a massive one. Like out of the blue that day, one of the days at work, I got a message on Instagram from Maha.
Okay.
I'd never met her before, didn't know who she was. And just saying, hey, we have an acting class tonight, we need more ladies, half price for ladies. And I hadn't really acted before, like I'd done a few things here and there.
Did your Instagram have anything about you wanting to be an actress?
No. I had lots of modelling stuff on it, because I was still doing lots of modelling stuff. And some of the modelling had crossed over into acting territory, but still I thought of myself as a model. Yeah. Anyway, so I got this thing saying come to acting class, and I kind of was so sort of down, needing like something exciting in my life. I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'll go to the class, why not? Yeah. Well, clearly Maha knows talent. Yeah, clearly, yeah. And then I had a very simple scene. I think it was like 5 lines, and I practiced my little lines, and I was so nervous. And then I got up and I did the scene, and I think I was just hooked. Yeah. From there, I just loved it. I loved it. And then, probably about 6 months after that, because I just kept going to Maha's classes, and then I went to Sydney Actors Collective. Okay. And then I just said to my husband, I said, I think I want to really give this a go. Like, will you support me if I quit my job and become an actor? And so, we had big discussions about it, and we decided I'd get to try for 12 months. So we saved up some money. I think one of the hardest things was at my job, I had to go to my manager and say, hey, just letting you know, I'm, resigning. Exactly. Heaven. It's just what I said. I'm quitting. And of course they say, oh, sorry to see you go. Where are you heading off to? I'm like, oh, I'm going to be an actor. And you just see their faces. They're just like, oh, like, so you're trained in that? And I'm like, yeah. And so this is now 2.5, almost 3 years later. Okay. And it's going okay, I guess. And you're still, I guess, full-time creative? Well, yeah. So at the moment I'm doing 2 days a week at my dad's office. Okay. Because I've always done that for him when he needs it. His receptionist quit suddenly, and he called me and asked me to come in, and I'm happy to do it. But otherwise full-time creative. I mean, obviously COVID hit really hard. Yep. And there was nothing. That was pretty scary. But like, touch wood, I seem to be getting just little modelling jobs here and there, and and I'm a big fan of doing student films if I feel like it's a good story, and just anything to like keep. Do you know, like, if you're not acting, you kind of feel like, what am I doing? Oh, 100%. I mean, I feel like I'm probably there most of the time. Yeah. I know. And then it's like, and then I'm kind of have to look, because I have like on my computer, I'm very organized, and I have like all my folders, like where I save all my previous short films I've done. Yep. And sometimes when I'm feeling really doubtful, I just have to go back and like look at them and be like, no, see, look, you did stuff. Yeah. Like, but I definitely like doubt is a massive thing, like all the time. Like, I think we were talking about it before we started. But yeah, I think that's like the hardest thing, really.
Okay.
Like,
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of things.
Sorry, I natted away. It's
That's
the
okay.
wine. He gave me wine. That's the problem.
I mean, it's past 3 in the afternoon. We can have wine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's Christmas time.
Not that I need that as an excuse. Okay, so I'll go back to the first part of that, which was the fact that you had that conversation with your company to say, I'm going to go off and be an actress. What was given that you hadn't necessarily had training, I was going to say professionally.
Well, no, that's true. I hadn't.
Well, not everybody has professional acting training, but given you hadn't had any training, what was going through your mind about, kind of either getting into that space, or like what was going through your mind as you committed that that's what you're going to do?
I think that I think it was like I don't know, the feeling I get when I act. It's like such a good feeling. Like even if I'm doing a sad scene or an angry scene or whatever scene, I'm just like, I want to have more of that feeling in my life, kind of thing. Because I was so.
The feeling of acting, not the feeling of being sad.
Yeah. Well, the feeling of acting. Yeah. I think it's because like it allowed me to be expressive in a way I hadn't been allowed to before. Because I think growing up in my family, it was like, I feel like even though my family is fun and loving and supportive, when it comes to like talking about emotions, they kind of lock up a bit.
Okay.
And I think I'm probably the emotional one in the family. So it was almost like I'd found this avenue where my emotions were allowed and invited. And I always sort of come back to this idea of like, I was allowed, when I'm acting, I'm allowed to be seen, I'm allowed to be heard. And I think like a lot of when I was younger, maybe I didn't feel that.
Okay.
So that's very like a deep thing, but I've thought about it a lot, and I do feel like that's definitely a pull to it is like I can, like people don't mind if I'm emotional or over the top or something, that's actually welcomed.
Yeah, it's I think definitely from an acting perspective, I can empathize with that feeling of being able to be free, but also I think like when we do go through training, a lot of the training is about giving yourself permission to release your emotions and be free and have that emotional reaction. So I hear you. Like that, that is amazing.
Do you experience anything like that? Like for you when you act, is it sort of a...
I 100%, whenever I'm on set, I'm like, I feel at home. Like this is where I'm meant to be.
I feel like that too.
And then I get really, I don't know. I mean, I still work full time, so I haven't taken the plunge of being okay. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to 100% commit to acting. And that is probably 100% a reason why I'm not further along in my own journey.
And I'm lucky in the sense, like I do have my husband John, who's very supportive, and he's like obviously now the major breadwinner. So I'm under no illusions that there's no way I could be doing what I'm doing if I didn't have his support.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah.
I know what you mean.
But that also is like makes it more of a driver for me that like I've got this opportunity, and like that motivates me too to like take advantage of the unique situation I have. I guess
because it's not easy. I mean, going from okay, I'm going to be an actor to Margot Robbie.
Oh god,
it's like it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, for some people it happens, but usually it's because they know someone.
Yeah, and that's another like interesting thing because so for example, Margot Robbie, I think she started acting at maybe 15 or 14 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, and now she's 28. So I started acting at 30.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's another thing that I feel a lot of pressure. Like, oh shit, I started like behind the 8 ball, so to speak. So I'm like, oh, I need to, I don't know, work twice as hard to catch up kind of thing.
But I feel like that is something that a lot of people feel. I mean, there are a lot of actors and actresses that started much later in life. I mean, if you look at, I can't remember, I think her first name is Anne Dowd, who's in The Handmaid's Tale. Like that, the older woman in that. She, like her first major role, I think she was like over 50 years old before she actually started to get tracking. There is so much hope. But also the same with, oh my God, I'm being a really bad person now, I'm not remembering names.
I know, I'm so bad at the names. I'm just like, you know the guy with the thing?
Yeah, the guy from Breaking Bad. Oh my God, I'm absolutely terrible with names. I feel like this is going to be cut out of the podcast.
Yeah, you'll just insert it, like you saying it. You know the guy.
Well, I'm not going to remember. Anyway, again, started later in life. But I think it's quite natural as human beings to, especially in the generation, maybe not necessarily the generation, but the time that we're in, we live in a time of immediacy. Of like, if I want something, I can Uber Eats it, I can get an Uber, I can, we live in a time where everything that we want, we can literally have within minutes. So if we then spend all this time working on it, it's like, well, it's not happening. I'm obviously too old. I started too late.
I'm not good enough.
Exactly, etc., which is, so much shit just goes through your brain as you're trying to get where you want to be.
Exactly, and I think like even that in itself, like that's something I've been thinking about a lot. It's like, well, where do I want to be? Like, do I want to go to Hollywood and be a star? And when I really think about it, I'm like, I mean, sure, that would be nice, but it's not my only goal. Like, it's not, like right now I'm quite happy with what I'm doing, but I mean, it would be nice to, I don't know, if I could pick anything that I would love to happen, like maybe get on an Australian TV show and have a recurring role. That would be amazing.
Sure.
It doesn't even, it doesn't even have to be a likable character or a famous character. Just like to be able to consistently act and be paid for it. That would be amazing.
No, I get you. And I think it's funny because when I tell people that I'm an actor, and even that in itself is something that I've had to get comfortable in saying. What do you do? Well, I'm an actor, but I have a corporate job as well. Like,
I still have fun. It's not serious.
Well, I don't say that. I mean, I've now become comfortable in saying it, but usually it's like, I'm an actor when somebody decides to cast me.
I know what you mean. No, I think I've gotten more comfortable with saying that. But yeah, definitely at the start, I didn't even know what I said. I just said, I think I would say, I'm doing a film thing. They're filming me. I would say that. Which sounds really dodgy, doesn't it?
It does, actually, Yeah, now that I think of it.
It does sound kind of dodgy.
So you've got an OnlyFans account is what I'm hearing?
Well, no, legit. I was curious. Okay, no judgment. Corona happened. I was like, I need money. Well, maybe I should make one, see if anyone's interested. No one was interested.
You actually created one?
Well, I didn't put anything naked. I just put like some bikini pictures.
Right, okay.
I think that's not enough to draw.
It is definitely not enough. Unless you've got a following already. I love that. How did that conversation go with the husband?
Oh, it didn't. So we'll find out about it when he hears this.
You heard it here first, folks. Oh my God, that is hilarious.
Yeah, I forgot about that actually. Well, that's one time I made a because I've been with John for 10 years, so that's a long time, and I've never done like the dating apps or anything like that because they weren't around when
you were single.
So I was just curious, and he knows about this. So I made a Tinder profile.
Okay, yeah.
And I said on it I'm married, but I was just curious because like, oh, what's it like? Like I didn't date anyone or anything, but yeah, so I have a Tinder profile.
I love that.
Yeah, so if I pop up on it, that it's not,
Well, I mean,
don't match.
I mean, I'm not going to see you.
I don't think you're my type.
No.
Type.
Wrong demographic.
No.
I've not got females selected on my profile. Not that I swipe, but nobody fucking messages back anyway, so it's a completely pointless app. Anyway, we're getting off track.
Yeah, off track. Acting. This is about acting. This is serious.
We are serious actors.
Serious actors, yes.
Okay, so back in the, I guess, what it takes to get there, and obviously as you're going along the journey, there is a lot that we have to deal with, like rejection, keeping yourself motivated.
Yeah.
Kind of, as you said, your goal perhaps is, having a steady income from acting.
That'd be nice.
I mean, I've paraphrased that into that.
Yeah, you made it
goal.
so much more succinct.
But I mean, I have a similar goal. Sure, I would love to be a known actor and be like, hey, we need you for this film, and it's going to pay you $15 million.
Yeah,
like,
that'd be
obviously,
great.
I would love
Yes,
that.
Of course, I'd love that too.
But ultimately, I would just prefer to be able to have a continuous acting work that pays me enough to keep me in the lifestyle that I am accustomed to.
I agree.
A nice apartment and being able to go out and have fun with my friends.
Yeah.
But the reality of becoming an actor is not that.
No.
And we have to keep ourselves motivated and focused on what it is that we want to do, because otherwise we get, as is human nature, we can succumb to, I guess, the voices in our head that say, this is the wrong thing.
I know what you mean, and I think because I can relate to what you said about did you say immediacy?
The immediacy,
yeah. So because it's you want it to happen so fast, and I think it's for me reminding myself to be patient.
Yeah.
And that every little thing I do, even if it's a one-liner in the back of a comedy sketch, everything I do is building me for the next thing.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself of that, and also remind myself, it's either this or going back in the office and doing the 9-to-5 grind, which I just know that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
So in terms of keeping myself motivated,
what do you do?
I'm a big fan of affirmations.
Okay.
So I have on my mirror, I have affirmations on there, stuff like I am enough, or I am. I don't like to say I'm a good actor, because I don't like saying good bad. I think that's so limiting.
Mm-hmm.
But just things like I am creative, or I have everything I need.
Yeah, nice.
And things like that, just to keep up my self-belief.
Yeah.
That's the big part of it.
Well, it's also a self-reinforcement, right? It's, you do believe those things, you do feel those things, and consistently reinforcing that type of messaging in your brain is so powerful.
I know, because
I don't do it enough myself.
Yeah.
But it is, there's plenty of science and
there's so much about it.
research on it.
For me, it's been a big 180, because back, when I was early 20s, teens, when I think about it now, I was brutal to myself. So now I'm just trying to be much more supportive. But in terms of being motivated, I think one thing I've come to is doing my own projects, I'm doing the roller coaster testers.
Yes.
So that's been keeping me motivated, when nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Then I'm at least I've got my own project happening.
So tell me, I guess, a little bit more about roller coaster testers. So how did you come to the decision, right, I'm going to create my own project? And so let's talk about that first. So what did it take for you to get to that point? Because not every actor creates their own content.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. I'd been working for Dad for a while, and it's very quiet in there, and I didn't have a lot to do, so I just started writing. Okay. And because it was based on this idea of the fact, my dad has a fairly boring job, and when we were kids, to make us excited, he used to say, "See you kids, I'm going off to test the roller coasters." And so we thought Dad was testing roller coasters. Then obviously we grew up and we realised that's not what he's doing at all. He's electrical contractor, so it's boring. But I love him. So that's where the idea came from, and then it was nearly finished, and then COVID happened. So I was at home, so I was like, okay, well, I should...
Nearly finished what?
Writing it.
Sorry. Writing
it, sorry, yeah. And then I was like, well, I should finish writing it. And then I did, because I had all that time sitting at home. And then I think, in terms of like keeping myself motivated and doing things, I was like, well, why don't I just go ahead and make it? Because nothing else is happening right now, and this is going to make me feel better. And also just to like give, my peers or my friends who are actors something to be excited about.
Yeah,
because I know how exciting it feels when you're like, oh, I got a part in this thing, and so I was like, that way I can kind of give back to instead of always waiting for someone to give me the role kind of thing, you know?
That's amazing.
And of course wrote myself the lead part.
Well, obviously. I mean, if you're going to create your own content when you're an actress, obviously you're going to like put yourself in the lead role. Okay, well, I mean, that's so cool. I mean, I did audition for it, which was a lot of fun, even just auditioning.
I know, I think you were too young for the boss role, so, because I think that's the one you tried for, right?
Well, I auditioned for the boss and the guy that always pees himself.
That's right. Yeah. No, you're too like, what's the word?
Intellectual,
I
think was what you said.
Yeah.
It was good fun either way. So, roller coaster testers.
Yes.
So so you got to ride it, and you wanted to have something for your friends.
Yes.
And cast yourself as the lead,
of course,
obviously.
Yes, why not?
So, how did you? Was this the first project that you've created yourself?
Yeah. First big one. Like, I mean, when I look back on my sort of teens and early 20s, I realized I actually did make a lot of little films and videos, but I never saw it as filmmaking at the time, if that makes sense. Like, I just made like, I'm gonna make a little cooking video, I'm gonna make a sewing video, or I'm gonna film my night out with my friends and then edit it together. But this is the first time I really did casting and location and, had a crew and...
So how did you find that? I mean, if you think back, it's been, 3 years, did you say, since you've gotten into the acting world, to then 3 years later be actually writer, director, producer, location scout, casting director.
Stressful.
How did you find that process?
Yeah, I'm still in the middle of it. It's been pretty stressful. I've learned a lot. I did, at the beginning, a lot of people advised me to bring on like someone to be the producer, and I did talk to a few people, and I did initially have someone who was going to do it, but I suppose maybe I don't think I'm controlling. I think I just had a really clear vision of what I wanted, and I couldn't get it across. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it myself because I think it'll be quicker. And I think of all the roles, producing has been the hardest. Just trying to organize everyone, and because I've got a lot of characters in it. There's 7 to 8 characters, and some of the scenes have all 7 characters.
Right.
So trying to schedule 7 people who are volunteering their time to be there, plus the crew, that's been really hard. And I actually had a few times when I was just crying to my husband, going, "There's no way I can ever do this. Like, let's just not do it. It's stupid."
Wow.
So he's been very supportive.
What a good man.
Very, very good man. Shout out to John. Definitely.
Well done, John.
Yeah, definitely. But then you have a sleep, you wake up, and then you think of it. Oh, well, what if we just did that scene this day instead, and maybe character John doesn't have to be in that scene, and you just kind of think of it another way, and you kind of make it work.
Yeah, cool. Has it given you, I mean, I'm sure you already did, but has it given you a newfound respect for the filmmaking industry and everything that goes into 100%, making content?
100%. It's given me a whole new perspective because, I think sometimes as an actor you just think, oh, well, I'm here, put me in the scene. And it's just there's so much more that's gone on before you've got there, and there's so much that goes on after you leave. Even just things like casting, that was so eye-opening for me because, you think you know what you want, and then people come in and they just do things and you're like, oh actually, yeah, you know, that's better than what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Or you don't look anything like what I was imagining, but you just fit, I can just see you as the character. And so that was like really, really eye-opening to me, like, because often you think, oh, why don't I get cast? Why don't they like me?
Yeah.
Wasn't I good enough? And it's kind of not really even that. I mean, for me, it was...
It's never that.
Yeah.
It's never,
yeah.
You're not good enough, etc., etc.
It was just like this feeling I got, like someone would do it and I'm like, yeah, that's it. So that was really interesting. Directing, I have to say, I've really been loving.
Yeah.
Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, cast members, but I feel like I've had a knack for it.
Okay.
And I feel like I've been able to get the performances I need from my actors. So I've really been enjoying that. But producing,
it's hard stuff. Yeah, sure. When you were casting, how much did diversity and equality, is that the right word to use in acting in that sense? But how much did diversity and etc. play in your decision making or casting process?
It was definitely a huge consideration for me because I really wanted to have the right people for the part. It wasn't, I didn't want to be like, oh, it has to be a certain type, even for gender, I was like, I did my casting calls completely open, like I was like, the name, it could be either be Max or Maxine, it doesn't, gender isn't important, so I cast a really, really wide net, and I feel like I got a good mix of ethnicities and genders, but it was hard, it was really hard, I think, even though I wrote my roles as inviting that diversity, I don't know if there's not as many like diverse actors, but I do feel like I got a lot of Caucasian people applying, which is fine.
That's interesting. Like from a casting perspective, I mean, I've never been on the casting side yet, and obviously, everybody wants to see themselves represented in media, and there has been a lot of talk, especially around Oscar time and awards time, etc., around the fact that there is a lack of people of colour or a lack of diversity and representation when it comes to, who's actually up for an award. So it's interesting to hear, like if you think about, I mean, obviously you just said there was a lot of Caucasian people.
There was,
that,
I'd say
auditioned.
80. Well, not even just applied. I'd say 80%, 70 to 80% were Caucasian, and I found myself, because I did the casting on Star Now, and I found myself actually going and looking, trying to find that diversity, and then I was just like, oh, is this? Am I forcing it? Am I pushing it? But I maybe that's what you have to do to if you want people to make a change, maybe you do have to do that.
You have to be the change.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy with the way I cast and happy with the way I handled it. If I could have my way, I would have loved to have a bit more diversity in there. But unfortunately, from the pool of people that applied, and then when you cut it down to the people who had ability and talent, there just wasn't much like diversity in the final top end.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And I was trying to be so open, like, I had this one guy come in and he was really keen, wonderful personality, and we had a great chat, and I was like, okay, like, do your scene now. And it wasn't that he was a bad actor, but he was so nervous, and I just thought, if you're nervous on the audition, how are you going to do, a film day?
Yeah.
So on that basis, I had to cut him because I need people who are ready. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, especially when you're creating your own content, because you're investing a bunch of your own money into it and your own time, which is, making films isn't cheap.
No. No.
And so, look, I'm excited to see Roller Coaster Testers. I guess one last question about Roller Coaster Testers is, what is your plan for, because it's a series, isn't it? Not a short film or a
it's a series.
feature. It's a series. It's a web Sorry, it's a series.
Well,
what's your plan for it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, that's sort of like where I really fall short because I don't know what the options are. And I've been trying to talk to other people and get advice, like, what can I do? Look, in all honesty, it's my first project. There's a lot of things I would do differently. Could I go back to the start if I had more money, if I had more time? But I think in the end, I'll probably just end up submitting it to a few festivals and then it probably just will go onto YouTube. I would like to try to approach, the ABC has like a comedy online YouTube channel.
Okay.
I feel like it could be appropriate for that. But just because of production value, I don't genuinely think it would be high enough quality to go to, say like TV. Sure. As much as I would love for it to, I'm just being realistic.
Never say never.
Yeah. So if there's an opportunity, like an opening to apply to submit it to something like that, I'll of course chuck it in the ring because you got to be in it to win it.
Yep.
But I don't know. I've seen a lot of the quality of other stuff that goes in, and I don't know if ours is up to that. Not that it's not quality. It is very good. But just when you have no money, when you have no budget,
sure,
it's like. You can only do what you can do.
I'm sure it's amazing, and you're just, like all of us actors, are being a little bit self-deprecating about it. I'm sure it's
I'm being
phenomenal.
Cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm excited to see it. However it is released, whenever it is released, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. It'll be a great showcase for the actors involved, and just a bit of lighthearted fun, and maybe people get to kind of see my style, my way of filming.
Your humour as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's congratulations on creating something, because I think if we look at the journey of becoming an actor from deciding, okay, acting is something that I want to do, to Margot Robbie kind of status. Very jealous of Margot Robbie.
Oh, she's amazing.
You've got to go. It's a really funny industry where you have to kind of pay your dues.
Yeah.
And it's you've got to work so much, and there you kind of mentioned that. Your actors and crew, I don't know about your crew, sorry, actors obviously they're volunteering their time a lot, and I don't think a lot of people really realise this, but there is a lot of acting that we do that is unpaid.
Oh yeah.
That we have to do for the love of it, to develop that experience, to, we do a lot of work for the exposure, and the things that exposure buys is nothing. But not a lot of people really. I don't think a lot of people really appreciate what it actually takes. And I definitely, I've been doing some kind of performance since I was in year 4.
Oh wow.
I've always been interested in dramatics and acting, etc. And I moved to the UK when I was 18 with a desire to follow acting, but didn't really know what it takes, that you've got to quit your permanent job, that you've got to work for free.
And you've got to have all that rejection.
But on top of all of that, working for free is also paying for all of the courses and all of the headshots and all of the everything that goes into building you up to be an actor, so that you do get to that point of, okay, I'm paid to be an actor.
I reckon if I got out all my receipts and looked at what I'd earned from acting versus what I've spent on acting, I think I've spent more on it than I've earned from it.
I keep an Excel spreadsheet of my profit and loss. There's a big loss. There's a huge loss.
Well,
let me just drink to all the loss.
We drink a lot, but we have a gain in our hearts.
We have. And again, as I said before, when I'm on set, I feel at home. So
exactly. And I'm just also to touch on even just things coming today and doing this. This is lovely. Old Amelia, 5 years ago, Amelia would never have been doing this. She would have just been at home with John, blah blah blah. She wasn't going out. She wasn't meeting people. She wasn't putting herself in challenging situations. And acting's really I suppose opened me up a lot.
Yeah.
And even though, and because it is,
I will say, OnlyFans, Tinder.
Get on it. Hit me
There
up.
are some bikini shots going for.
You might see some side boobs. That'll cost you. I was crooked at the end. But yeah, what was I saying? I don't know.
I don't even remember.
Let's drink more wine.
I'm feeling a little bit tipsy.
Yeah, no, I think just like, I think one thing that's really been nice is like the sense of community and like friendship
100%.
from it. Yeah, because I never really had that before. Like I had my friends from school and that was really nice, and you know, we're still really close, but it's almost like this just door opened of all these like creative, open people, you know, like yourself, and like it's just, I think like being more like sweet and wholesome, like that's probably like the best thing that's come from acting. But yeah, like I still consider myself an ambitious person, and you know, if someone turned around tomorrow and was like, Amelia, you know, we want you in this Hollywood film, like I'm gonna be like, yeah, of course. Like I'm not gonna be like, no, I just do it for the love.
Yeah, no, I get it. Okay, so going back to the, you know, working for free and you know, because you've got to pay dues. Let's talk about some of the projects that you have worked on over the last 3 years.
I was wondering when this would come up.
So you very kindly, as requested, sent me some links, which I very unkindly didn't watch. I did try to watch one, but the link, it said I didn't have access to it. And then I started to watch the other one when I was walking Kevin, and then saw that it was 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, obviously I need to do this at home. And then got busy. So apologies.
That's fine.
So I guess a couple of things that I like to touch on in these podcasts is, you know, what's like the cringiest, your cringiest performance.
I'm already cringy.
Okay, talk to me about that.
Okay, so one of the very, I think it was the first short film I ever did.
Okay.
I was playing this character who was like a figment of this sort of mental patient's imagination. So so the mental patient had three sort of personas that sort of came out of its mind, I guess.
Okay.
One was like a really angry guy. One was like this sort of a sweet little cutesy girl, and then one was like this sort of bitchy, judgmental, whiny woman, which was me. So basically just played myself. Yeah. And like it's not, I don't think my performance wasn't amazing because I was just starting out, but it wasn't terrible, but it was more just the fact that my character had to come up and be like, I can't remember what the line was, but it was something like, please don't do that to me, or something like that. And then when I like watch it back, I'm just like, oh, the cringe. And then like because it's a student film, so like, the editing's really odd, and I think I had tan on at the time, so I look really orange.
Do you
a lot going on.
Do you enjoy watching yourself in any of whether you feel that that's cringe or not? Do you enjoy watching? Enjoy is probably a strong word.
I find it difficult.
Okay.
I find it difficult. Yeah, that's a funny thing, isn't it? Because I love acting and I'm quite happy to be in front of the camera. But as soon as someone wants to be like, hey, do you want to just watch that back? I'll watch it, but inside I'm dying. Yeah, no, I can 100% empathize with that. And it's really interesting because like, I mean, I definitely have some acting roles where I'm like, fuck, that is like, what actually was that? Yeah. And I really struggle watching myself. And I even like, yesterday I was sent the clip of a micro short film. It's only 3 minutes. I'm literally in it for like a minute. Yeah. Which was longer than some other people. On day, it felt good, and the director was like, not giving any direction. He's like, everything you're doing is amazing. It's exactly what I want. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, great, fantastic. Yeah. Watched it back, and I'm like, why am I so still? Like, what is wrong with me? I mean, you've seen me on this podcast. I'm a fucking expressive person. Yeah. Why am I sat there like this? Welcome to the scene. I am acting now. Like, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I feel like I'm the opposite. Maybe I move too much. I don't know, but like.
But that's more natural, and that's probably why when we see your work, that it's like, she's fucking brilliant.
I don't know, but that's very sweet of you. Thank you. But I don't know. Watching myself is a difficult thing, and I feel it's sometimes when characters say like, Jessica, an attractive 30-something businesswoman, and I'm like, oh, I have to be. That's a lot of pressure. Like, she's got to be attractive, and it's like. So then you look back, and then you look back at it, and you're just like, oh. Like I remember I played I was in this film called Bad Influence, and I played the lead female Laura, and she's kind of meant to be like the love interest. And I remember like that really played on my mind a lot because it was one of my first ever sort of big acting roles, and I remember thinking, oh gosh, well, are people going to think I'm a love interest? You know what I mean? Like, and that was something that was interesting to me. And I think also because, like, again, I've been in such a solid relationship for 10 years. That idea of flirting and dating, that's kind of a bit foreign to me. So it's hard for me to watch myself because I'm definitely critical. Critical.
But I mean, it's so easy to be critical of yourself, whether it's acting or any part of life, and I hold this kind of, what's the word, perception or idea that people that think that they are great are generally dicks.
Yeah,
I think that there is a difference between being confident and being
arrogant,
comfortable in what you're doing and knowing that you're doing great.
Yeah.
But then being like, I don't need your feedback.
Yeah.
I'm fucking great.
It's interesting you say that because it's almost like it's probably, if you think about it, maybe better to have a little bit of, not lack of confidence, but maybe a little bit of doubt, because that vulnerability is what makes you interesting, I guess, to the viewer.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of. Like, I don't know, I was just thinking of that then. Maybe that's the wine talking.
Maybe.
I don't know.
So that's something that you've been kind of was cringing. Talk to me about, like, what is your proudest moment as far as acting is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll talk about a different project. It's actually one I didn't send to you because it hasn't been finished yet. But yeah, it's a project. It was a short film I did a couple of months ago. Firstly, I felt quite flattered because so the director and the writer Jay Richards, he just reached out to me out of the blue on Star Now, so I didn't even apply for it. He just reached out and he's like, hey, I'm doing this casting for this horror film, I think you could be good, could you come for an audition? So I went and met him and I did the audition, and then he really liked it and he's like, yeah, I think you'd be perfect, I'd like you to play Olivia. And I was like, awesome, that's great. And yeah, I've seen a few like of the edits of it, and I think I'm quite proud of it because it was pretty emotional. Like there's this, I don't want to ruin the story, but the character kind of finds out like some pretty drastic things. It's a horror film, and she kind of sort of almost loses her mind and things like that. And I was a bit nervous because I was like, oh, how am I gonna do that?
Yeah.
But then like this sort of like. And that's why I love acting. Like this sort of like amazing thing happened. Like when it was time to film that scene, and it was like, okay, like we're doing that particular scene now. I was just like, okay, well, I just have to go with it. I just have to like make it real. And what I love, I think that's the amazing thing about like your body and like physiology. It just kind of came out of me, and then we did it a couple times, and then it was done. And I was really proud of that because I didn't know if I could do it, and then I instead of like forcing it, I think I just kind of was like, okay, I'm just going to trust that it's there. Yeah. And then it did, and I've seen it, and I feel pretty proud of it. And I'm quite excited for people to see it because I think it's probably, I hate using the word like best and worst, but I think it's some of my best acting work.
Well, it's the stuff that you feel really proud of.
Yeah.
You feel really confident.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It sounds. Well, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that one. I'm really excited. It's a really cool story too, and it's been filmed really beautifully. Yeah. So I mean, I'm excited for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does sound like a really interesting film, and to be proud of your work, I think, is really powerful, because I think Ivana Chubbuck, one of the quotes that I like from her is something
I've read her book.
Yeah, it's great. I'm rereading it at the moment. But one of the things that she said is, if you're not having fun, then it's probably not a great scene.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That isn't, I'm not quoting her verbatim. I have got it actually saved in my phone somewhere. But basically, if you're having fun, then it'll be good.
Yeah.
But if you're not, and it sounds like, but even just to come away feeling like, fuck, that was good work.
Yeah,
even if you don't like watching yourself back,
yeah.
to have that feeling is such a reaffirming thing.
And it was almost like whoa, I didn't even know that was in me kind of thing, you know? So that's sort of like fascinating as well.
So it sounds like from what you've said that it's potentially quite an emotive scene that you had to do.
Yeah.
So do you have a particular preparation process when you're approaching any work that you're doing?
I think for me, like, I learn the lines by heart, inside out, back to front, like, so there's absolutely no doubt that I could possibly ever forget a word. And I do that by practicing it, and then I also write it out. And then I also do this thing, I don't know, it seems to work for me, where I just say to myself, you know what they are.
Yep.
And then I just don't frazzle about it. What if I forget?
Sure.
I just say, you know them. And that seems to work.
Yep.
And then in terms of this, like, emotional scenes, like, it's interesting because originally we were going to film the really emotional scene on this other day, and I was kind of geared up for it. Do you know what I mean? And I remember that morning before I went to set, inexplicably I just started crying, and I'm just like, you know, just because I think I was just like sort of prepared for it. Anyway, that day we didn't get to that scene because we ran out of time. And so that was really like, you had all these like emotions sort of ready to go, and you didn't get to use them, and that was really difficult. And so then when we finally did get to do that scene, I think in a way maybe it was better because it was all that like pent up anticipation kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know, I guess, I don't know, like my process is just to learn the lines.
Okay.
And then let everything else just happen.
Okay.
I guess. Yeah.
So you're just kind of in the moment.
I try to be as much as possible.
Yeah.
I try to be, but it's hard.
Well, I mean, there's so many different ways of doing it, right? I mean, there are so many methodologies. Like there's method, there's Stanislavski, there's Meisner, there's Ivana Chubbuck, there's all of these different ways or methods of kind of getting you there. And it's really, like, I guess I find it really interesting just to hear about what people
do you feel drawn to like one method more than like what do you think?
Look, if I'm completely honest, as far as I'm concerned, I think it depends on the part and the emotion required and what I need to deliver in the scene. So there are actors out there who are very famously on method. So when I'm preparing, I am that character. In my everyday, I'm that character. So that I'm there. But I think it's really important. I look at methods or frameworks. If I was to use corporate speak, they're all tools in your toolbox, right? And I think it's important to have those tools in your toolbox, and you assess each job or each part, and you go, okay, I need this one, I need this tool for this part, I need this tool for this part. I mean, you wouldn't, if you were building a house versus hanging a door, you've got a toolbox and you'll use different tools for each thing, right? So I'm quite a practical person, so I like to judge each bit of work in its merit and then go, okay, well, this one is going to work. So if I look at Get a Life Alright, which we're both filming in January, there are only 2 scenes that I'm in. I mean, there is no such thing as a small part.
Yeah, I agree.
But what I need to give in those scenes from an emotional perspective is relatively small. So I'm not going to sit down and personalize and take all of the Ivana Chubbuck stuff and be like, right, what is my objective? What is my moment before? What are all these things? I literally play a person that comes in, does this thing, and I leave. It doesn't require that.
Similar with my character too. She's just sort of fun, lighthearted. I don't need to do a full in-depth.
Exactly. I mean, you want to be believable. You want people to believe that you are that part, obviously. But it doesn't require as much preparation. But there's another short film that I'm doing. It will probably be filmed in March, which is actually the play that I did at Short and Sweet this year. One of the actors in the play has decided to turn it into a short film.
Oh, cool.
And it is an extremely emotional, heartbreaking part.
Yeah.
So that part, I will spend the time doing the work to get there.
Do you get like, when you know that it's coming up, like shooting days are coming up, does your mood change? Because I know for me, like my mood will definitely change a couple of days before if I know it's going to be, an intense scene.
Look, if I'm completely honest, I haven't really had any parts yet that are so intense that I've needed to really get into a headspace.
Yeah.
This will be the first part that I've had where it's like,
that'll be interesting to
really
see how you react
feel,
to that.
yeah.
You should pay attention to how you feel in the lead up and also the after as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I remember like when I've done scenes where I've had to cry or be really upset or really traumatized even. You finish that day on set and everyone's like, see you later, good work, and you're like, bye, and then you go home, and then you go home and you're like,
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be really interesting.
I mean, something. If I'm completely honest, if we're talking about we're talking about preparation. Sometimes I can be really lazy. I'm just like, you know what? Like, I don't want to just deliver lines. I definitely want to be believable, but there are some roles where I'm just like, okay, well, there's 5 lines here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
What am I gonna do?
I know. Sometimes I've had ones where it's like, mother walks into the room. Hey, darling, dinner's ready. Are you coming down? I'm like, I don't think I need to do an in-depth analysis.
No. So yeah, and a lot of the stuff that I've done hasn't required that type of preparation. There was something that I did last year, which was actually one of the better student films that I've worked on. It was a lot of fun. It didn't really need a lot of work because fortunately, the character was who I am as a person.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's always helpful.
Which is dry, sarcastic, bitchy for a laugh.
Yeah.
Comedic type role. So, like, it was just. I didn't need. Yeah, it was so much fun. Like, I don't need to. I know this guy. This guy is me. So there wasn't a lot of prep that was needed, but the result was so great.
Yeah, and isn't it funny though when sometimes you do get cast in things and you're like, oh, this is just me.
Yeah.
Oh God, am I that obvious? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's So I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, I think the whole preparation for roles is super, super important.
Yeah.
Even when we're just practicing, right? When we're doing Scene on Screen or Sydney Actors Collective or Sydney Actors Association, whatever we're doing, I think it's really important to analyze each thing and decide, this is the type of prep that I need to do.
Yeah, for this. Yeah, for this thing. Yeah, definitely.
Which is quite interesting. I want to touch on. I've just had a thought about some experiences that I've had recently around the I'll call it actor training. So obviously, like the gym or anything else, we need to keep the acting muscle tight for us to be believable and and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I've recently been in the position where I was doing Sydney Actors Association and even Stage Milk Online, where I've left things to the last minute and I've not done it. I've just not found the joy in the acting and the preparation, and I've just been like, you know what, this is fucking shit. I can't be bothered doing this.
Yeah.
Like, actually, something is due today for Sydney Actors Association. For Stage Milk, I've not done the prep.
Yeah.
I've not done anything. I'm just like, but I've been lazy. But I've found myself in a place where I've felt like I have kind of been in this mental health space of like, why am I doing this? I'm not finding the joy in the creation. I'm not finding the joy in doing the work or the preparation. And it's really kind of gotten to me. And I think, you know, COVID hasn't had a lot to do with it. I was in a bad headspace before I moved here. Post a breakup last year and all that kind of stuff. So I've just been in a bit of a negative space, and all of this stuff like pandemic and whatever has been.
It all makes
shit.
an impact.
It makes a massive impact. Is there, obviously you spoke about affirmations before, and you know, I know I'm not going to ask a stupid question of like, do you experience downtime? Like issues, like we all do. This isn't unique to me. It's not unique to you.
Everything you're saying,
everybody
I could say it myself.
Exactly. Everybody goes through that. Is there? Talk to me about, I guess, your mental health over the last, if we look at the pandemic and creating your own content and whatever, how have you kind of fared over the last 12 months with the pandemic, and what have you done, or have you got like a coping mechanism?
Totally, yeah. So I can totally relate to what you're saying, because so when COVID hit in March, like I was away in LA, and I was so excited. I'd never been there before, and I was doing classes, and I really felt like I was progressing, you know, like, because I traveled, I mean, I did stay with some girls when I was there, but essentially I traveled on my own. So it was a big step for me in sort of affirming my actor life. And so that all got cancelled. I had to come home. And so I was very low when I got home. My trip of a lifetime cancelled, no acting jobs. I lost my shitty reception job that I had. Everything gone all at once. So I was just like, cool. So that was shit. And then I think, so after sort of crying and bumming around for like a few weeks, what did I do? Oh yeah, so I have like a little YouTube channel, and I just was like, okay, I'm gonna make some videos for my YouTube channel. So I think I did like a cooking video, I did like a sewing video, I did a makeup video, just so I was doing something. Yeah. You know, I think maybe they've got 60 views. Woohoo. But you know, like I did it. But then that was only sort of short-lived, and I was like, oh, no one watched them, no one cares. Back to move. And then, I think that's when I was like, okay, nothing's happening. You got two options: mope and cry and feel sorry for yourself, or make something happen. Yeah. And then that's when I sort of turned back to my roller coaster testers, and I was like, you know, there's no reason why you can't do this. Like, maybe it's not going to be some impressive blockbuster, but at least we'll be doing something. And so I started to get the gears in motion for that, and that kind of kept me distracted and sort of, I guess, a bit more hopeful and a bit excited. Yeah. And then I don't know, like, it's a lot of different things. I like any person, my mood's up and down. You know, you can wake up in the morning and feel shitty, and then maybe at lunchtime you'll get an email come through saying, hi, can you please send through a self-tape? And then suddenly you're like, oh, a self-tape? Someone wants a self-tape from me? Oh my god, amazing! And then so you do your self-tape and you send it off, and you're like, I did my self-tape! And then like 2 days later they're like, thanks for your self-tape. Unfortunately, you're like, oh, unfortunately. As soon as you say unfortunately, you're just like, fucking unfortunately. Unfortunately, fuck you.
So what's your, like, how do you How do you cope or manage your
Yeah.
I guess mental health? How do you manage in those situations?
I mean, I really love yoga and meditation.
Yeah.
That's been a big factor for me. Just like that whole sort of like distancing from the thoughts and like remembering it's just this moment in time. You don't know what's coming this afternoon. You don't know what's coming tomorrow. You don't know what's coming next week. And so that's something like a reminder for me. It's like I try to be very aware of what I'm thinking. So for example, let's say I did a self-tape and they come back and they go, oh, unfortunately you're not the part. I'll go straight away, oh, I'm too old, I'm too ugly, I'm shit, they don't want me. But I'm aware enough now to hear that and go, okay, thanks for offering that, brain, that's super helpful. I'm just going to put that to the side and thanks for your contribution. We'll consider that at a later date. You know, and so it's kind of like this thing of like, it's like, it's as simple as making a choice. Do I want to choose that? Yeah. Or do I want to choose that? And I don't always get it right. You know, some days I will just go, oh, I'm going to quit acting, this is stupid, why am I doing this? Blah, blah, blah. But then I think because I love it so much, I was just like, oh, I'll give it one more go. Yeah, sure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely, no, I 100% know what you mean, because I'm very regularly in that place of, oh my God, I'm not a good actor, I'm too bald, I'm too old. I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too that, it's never going to happen. Yes. And, you know, I mean, I'm very much out of practice at the moment, and I've got a month off work. I'm going to try and get back into the practice of meditation, which I find very, very helpful. It is so helpful. But at the same time, I will discount the last year because it's been very difficult in during the COVID pandemic. So let me take that and file it over here for not included in this next statement. Exactly. I very much appreciate and am aware that there are many mental health issues. You know, there is depression, anxiety, bipolar. There are all of these different things and chemical imbalances that people have, and I completely recognize that. Yeah. I'm in a very, very, very fortunate position that I do not experience or do not. I don't have any of those kind of chemical imbalances personally. But I've always been a very big believer in that wherever we end up in life is a direct result of decisions that we make. Whether that be, I'm going to turn left versus I'm going to turn right. Yeah. Like if I turn left, I've just been hit by a car, or etc. etc. Yeah. Ultimately, I made the decision to turn left. Like sure, that person's going to be driving a maniac, but I made that decision. Yeah. But I kind of live in this world of like, okay, if something bad happens to me, yes, I will be upset by that and I will feel shit about that and I'll probably sit with that for a day or two. Yeah. But then I'll have a word with myself and go, pull yourself fucking out of it. Yeah. You don't need to, yes, that happened to you, but you can now decide to sit in that and wallow in that and use that as an excuse for absolutely everything. Yeah. Or you can go, that happened, that was fucking shit. Do I wish it didn't happen? Yeah, I do. But I'm not going to let that define me. I'm not going to let that...
I agree.
Seep into who I am.
And don't give it any more power. Don't give it any more attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm a really big believer in that. And I definitely suffer from... And I think a lot of actors will be able to empathize with this, is we are very emotional people.
Yeah, definitely. Sensitive, emotional.
Exactly. So we feel things. We really do feel things. Yeah. And I definitely feel things. But I just, I try to not let myself get sucked into that place for a long time. Yeah, I don't want to be in a self-pity party. But also, I don't want to be a negative person.
Yeah, exactly.
And not necessarily like a negative, when I say I don't want to be a negative person as in like I view everything negative, it's so
draining
to sit there and be like, oh my god, my life is over, what a terrible thing, blah blah blah. It's so fucking hard.
Because I can totally relate to that, because like again, like all through my early 20s, it was all like negativity, doubt, you can't do this, you're not enough, blah 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 blah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I kind of say to myself now, because I'm 33 now, and I'm kind of like, you know,
what?
Yeah.
You do look a day over 32 and a half.
Thank you. I'll pay you $100 later. But like, I'm like, you've done that. You've done a decade or a decade and a half, like 15 years of negativity and doubt. Did that work for you? No, it didn't. So why don't you just try, just for fun, just try.
Just for shits and giggles.
Just for shits and gigs. Pretend that you think you can do it and that you are good enough. And I'm not like, it's a struggle, don't get me wrong. I don't wake up every day and like, I'm fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't.
Oh, I never do that.
I never do that. But I'm like, there's got to be a different way than just like I always say to myself, I'm bored of doubting myself.
Sure.
Because it's like, I know that doubt leads to nothing.
Doubt is crippling.
Yeah. And actually, I was going to say, I just saw this thing pop up. I've got this app on my phone, and every hour, it just gives me a different affirmation.
Okay, I'm going to get the details of that.
Yeah, it's really good. And it just gives me these little affirmations. And I only had it on my phone for about a week, but I feel like it's really made a difference. And something will pop up, and I'll go, oh. Yeah, actually,
Cute.
That's nice.
I like that.
So yeah, so that's been helpful a lot.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I did caveat that with like the last year. So for me, the pandemic. I mean, I'm in a very fortunate position that I've maintained my job. I've still earned good money throughout the last 12 months, but it's been a really fucking hard time for me because I came out of an 8-year relationship last August, where I didn't have a lot of friends outside of our joined friendship group, who are all still my friends, but not necessarily, I feel like not to the same extent that we were before. So like the pandemic for me has been really difficult because I've been trying to build a new life of meeting new people, building new friendships and all of this kind of stuff. So I've definitely succumbed, I think, in the last 12 months to really doubting myself and not feeling happy or confident in quite a lot of things. And it's only recently that I've started to personally come out of it, because I was planning to move to London next year and I kept putting it off. I'm like, oh, well, this COVID's happening, so I can't move to London. And it took about 7 months until I found this place that we are now sitting in recording this podcast.
Which is so beautiful. His place is beautiful.
But it wasn't until I found this place that I was like, I have been living in a future that I can't have for a long time.
Yeah.
And that has made me depressed, because I was like, I don't want to spend money on this thing. I don't want to go away for a weekend because I'm saving for London. I don't want to do this. And I was like,
so
not living in the now.
Yeah, you have to let go of all that. And
And now I've done that, and I'm in a little bit of a better place, which is good. The positive of all of this, which I've now put, because obviously, you're talking about LA, I wanted to move to London. The positive out of all of this is because Australian COVID numbers have been so low, there is so many productions coming to Australia. Like my whole reason to moving to London was like, there's more opportunity there, there's more work happening, blah, blah, blah. And now there's, and I was like, I need to leave, I need to go because I'm 37 years old, I'm getting old, I need to be somewhere where there's more opportunity for me and people that look like me. There's a lot of bald people in the UK.
Oh,
there's a lot of bald people on television. I feel like there's a lot of bald people on television in the UK. I'm like, I feel like I would be more successful there. But now there is so much coming here that like, it might, you know what, there is the positive. There's the positive of this pandemic. It doesn't matter that I'm not going to move.
want to leave Australia, but it feels like with acting, sometimes
You've got to.
You have to.
Yeah.
If I could do...
Oh, I do want
keep
to.
it here.
When it's muggy days like this, I'm like, I need to get the fuck out of here.
But if we could stay here and make it a viable thing here, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
You know, ideal. I don't really want to have to pretend I'm American.
No.
I'd rather just be...
Well, the reality is probably will because the productions
Yeah,
company are
true,
American.
that's right. We'll do it. We'll do it if we have to.
Yeah. Well, look, we are recording this podcast on the 18th of December. So we are obviously coming up to 2021. And there's a woman that I follow on Instagram, Kate Williams, who's also a headshot photographer. Her Instagram is your mate Kate. She's great. She posted something the other day which was 2021, but it was 202WON. And that's what, so 2021, as in winning one.
Oh,
W-O-N.
yeah, so no, I'm not going to visualize it.
2021,
Yeah.
And I thought, fuck, 2021.
Yeah, this is it.
So, as we wrap up this year, which has been a fucking hard year, you've obviously done some amazing stuff. You've written something, you've produced something, you've made something, you'll release something probably in 2021. Do you have
goals?
a goal? Is there something that you want to achieve next year?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, releasing Roller Coaster Testers.
Yep.
I hope to do that maybe July.
Okay, cool.
And just, I suppose, I mean, it's a hard goal to have because sometimes you don't have control of it, but I guess just stepping up my acting game in terms of getting into projects of higher value and higher production quality. That's obviously not always up to me, but at least making sure that I'm ready as an actor and as a person to take on those opportunities that they come, and to be open, to be aware of those opportunities, because sometimes you miss them. Yeah. So I guess those are my main goals, just to keep at it, to keep going.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is a very wise and smart goal to have for 2021, and I, for one, can't wait to see you achieve those things. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, Danny.
If people want to follow you on Instagram, what's your handle?
Oh, it's long. It's Amelia Conway _official. So you don't mix me up with all the other Amelia Conways. Yeah.
I'll put the link. I'll put the thing in the podcast notes for those that want to see. You've got a YouTube channel. What is the name of that?
It's also just Amelia Conway, and I think I'm like the only one, so it should be easy to find.
Okay, great. And if anybody does want to see your bikini shots on
OnlyFans, Amelia Conway. Get on it.
Amazing. Well, Amelia, thank you so much for joining me today. I've really loved this.
Me too.
And I can't wait to see what you do in 2021.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Oh, do we wave?
Oh, we can.